So all of the technological problem-solving process resources that you see on the website all have a similar template. So I'm going to go through the template with you so you get an idea of what it looks like. So they all start with those key principles that the writing team put together and wanted to make sure were highlighted through the resource. The front matter also talks a little bit about some accommodations that can be used to support all of your students and make sure that every child in your classroom is able to engage in this process and have a say in the process. So it talks about some safety tips for high-tech tools, such as woodworking tools that you can use, and some accommodations you can make to support students when using these tools. The front matter also talks about the program connections that we can make between these resources and our kindergarten program document. And then as all these resources start off with some sort of picture book as a spark, it gives you an idea of what that picture book is, but it's also important to remember that this is one idea for a picture book that can be used to start off this problem-solving process. So if you can't find this one, there's so many others out there. And then it gives you an idea of that technological problem-solving process at a glance. And this is taken from our kindergarten program document. So it's important to remember that these 5 stages are not linear, they're not sequential. They don't follow a specific order, and things can be repeated. You could jump from one process to another and then come back. But this resource gives you an idea of what you could do for each phase to help to develop the skills that are involved to support our students in the problem-solving process. It also gives you an overview of what the entire resource looks like and what activities are being used to help promote each of these phases of the technological problem-solving process. So you get that overview just by looking at this slide. But it's important to remember that these are all ideas to get started. By no means do you have to follow this exact resource step by step, but we're hoping that by giving you some ideas or starting points that you can modify, add in, take away, based on what you see your students doing and based on their experiences. Then each part of the process goes through a specific idea of what sort of whole group discussion or invitation for learning you can use to develop that part of the process. So for each part, we see a similar template like this that goes through those invitations and talks about the materials you would need, some open-ended questions that you could use. And it also goes through some look-fors that you might see, but also the documentation opportunities. And these are really important because this is how we will modify the resource to help meet the needs of your students. This is how the resource becomes authentic for your students, by listening to what the students are saying, by watching what they are doing, and then making changes and planning based on that so that the resource is really relevant to your students. So it talks about that assessment for learning piece, and it's so important because it is ongoing, and that's what really helps to drive our instruction. It's really based on our students in the classroom that we have. So again, the resource goes through that similar template and gives you ideas for what invitations for learning or what whole group discussions you can have to help to extend that process.